Hi everyone, Sandman here. The photos for today's video are of women that haven't hit the wall yet. These women are still in their prime with porcelain skin and luscious golden hair. The wall has not taken them yet. As a woman enters her early 30s, the emotional and physical ground beneath her feet begins to shift. And most women are ill-prepared for the wall. The wall can be understood as a generic term used to describe the point in time when a woman has moved past her prime in terms of physical beauty. This usually starts happening to a woman when she reaches her early to mid-30s. Many women in their early 30s have spent almost 20 years with the ability to get male attention without fail. They are able to go on dates with men from their early 20s all the way up into their 50s and 60s. Men of all ages and socioeconomic groups have been giving them affection and attention. I've heard many women tell me stories about how dirty 50-year-old guys would hit on them when they were in their mid-20s. And when they turned 25, they would have high school boys trying to get them to put out. For a woman in her 20s, the world is her oyster. The majority of women can easily get male attention from men in any age group when they're in their 20s. And then after 30 to 35, their looks begin to change, and all of a sudden the teenagers, 20-somethings, and even men their own age start to disappear because they're giving their attention to younger women instead. Many women feel like they aren't being treated fairly by men from their own age group. 35-year-old women wonder why 35-year-old men don't want to date them and marry them. And the reality of the situation is that a 35-year-old man with a job, money, and a car can attract women in their 20s that are more youthful and beautiful. It takes a year or two for most men to get to know a woman, and another year to get engaged and finally get married. So if a man meets a 35-year-old woman and goes through this process, she will be 38 before they get married, and by then her chances of having children will be greatly diminished. A woman in her low to mid-30s has to start looking at guys in their late 30s, 40s, and possibly their 50s as a suitor. Many of these older guys have already been married, have children, and are now all that's left in the market. These guys might want a second wife, and if they're divorced, then they probably already have children. I know a couple of women in their mid-30s that don't seem to want to believe this. They tell me the only guys that are looking at them are over 40, and they think it's gross. These same women spent their 20s jumping from one short-term relationship to another, and now they don't know what's happened. Things weren't supposed to be the way they are, and they never thought that they would be in this position. It's a shock for many of them that men are the ones choosing women instead of women choosing the men. The natural order of relationships has been flipped in favor of men, and it's hard for women to accept that they aren't being pursued like they once were, and that their choice of men has gone from the entire male side of the human race to a sliver of men that have physically been burned by women, or are players, or are men that understand the nature of the desperation of women in their 30s. It's even worse for the women that have baby rabies. They want a child so bad, and they don't care how they can get one. They will sleep around without protection and tell many men that they are on the pill when they are not. I knew one guy that had 3 children with 3 different women in 3 years, and all of them said that they were on the pill, according to him. Now he's paying child support for 2 kids and living with a woman that's the mother of his 3rd child. As for the circle of people that I hang out with, I used to think that many women my age would start having babies once their friends started having babies. Many of my female friends in their mid-30s that are in relationships have opted not to have children at all. Groups of 10 to 15 women that all hang around together are all opting to not have children. The 1 or 2 women that did have children are no longer being welcomed into this particular social circle. Because these 35-year-old women are still partying and going out clubbing like they did in their 20s, it's sickening for me to see that women are going out to cougar bars trying to pick up 25-year-old men. Most of these 25-year-old men just want sex, and it destroys many women's self-esteem to be selling themselves short like this. But they don't care. They crave attention from young, attractive men and want to keep the party going just a little bit longer before they hit middle age. The second wall hits many women in their early to mid-40s, and at that point many lose the ability to attract even the 20-year-old guys just interested in sex. That's usually when they start putting on extra weight and start hitting menopause. Asian and black women take a bit longer to hit the wall, but when many of them lose their looks, many of them age straight off a cliff. A 38 or 39-year-old Asian woman might go from looking like she's 29 or 30 to looking like she's in her early 40s in the span of a couple years. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but that's just what I've noticed. Maybe because I'm a white male, I'm not seeing the wall that came 10 years before she hit 40. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This is just my observation, and I'd love to hear more insight on this particular phenomenon. Women typically reach sexual maturity faster than men when they are teenagers, because the quicker they get there, the greater the chances of the survival of our species, especially at times in our history when resources were scarce. Women have always enjoyed the reproductive advantage when it comes to reproducing their own genes. But because they blossom younger, that means that they will also wither quicker as well. Men's ability to access resources and money is what will more often than not attract the attention of a woman. And smart men that work hard and save money will only become increasingly attractive over time to women. Men, on the other hand, are attracted to women's reproductive abilities, so women get all their poker chips dealt to them in the beginning of life. Imagine if a young man and a woman were playing poker, and let's say that both of them are in their early 20s. The woman is given 90 chips, and the man only has one. By the time they reach the age of 35, he commands 85 of those chips, and now she only has 6. The aging process can be likened to a game of poker, full of bluffing and other types of deception, where both sides are trying to hide the true nature of their cards. And just like in poker, in real life your financial chips play a big role in your status and options. A greater portion of women that I know spent their money when they were young instead of saving it. They would travel, buy shoes, go out for dinner a few times a week, and spend lots of time out with their friends. They would also spend gobs of money on makeup and cab fares. When they reach their mid-30s, I have met women that are in serious consumer and student debt and are looking for a man with money to bail them out. I know dozens of women that have literally told me they are looking for a sugar daddy to help them pay off their debts. The aging wall for women is often a great psychological shock to the system for them. Men age a bit more gradually, and once they get into their mid to late 30s, they can date a broader range of 20-something women. My friends that are still dating notice that they are holding most of the cards and poker chips in the new dating game. But recently, I've made many of them aware of MGTOW, so they are falling right out of that dating game and doing what makes them happy instead. According to the guys over at MGTOWforums.com, the wall takes no prisoners and can't be bargained with. With that, I'd like to say enjoy the rest of your day, and if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do so to get your daily dose of red pills. Cheers.